Okay, to give you a little context for this, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be presenting this program at Citizens for Conservation. And on the screen, you see the two upcoming programs, January 25th. Two great birders, Barb Karen and Laura Simpson, are going to be talking about apps for bird identification, followed by me doing the presentation I'm about to show you now. My presentation is not finished. It is raw. And the reason I asked to do this for Monarchs, Milkweed, and more is exactly what you just shared. You are using a variety of apps. And after I run through my slides, I'm going to be asking you for feedback as well as any additional thoughts you have, pros and cons about the apps you use, so I can add some real user information to my presentation. But if you go to this website here, Citizens for Conservation, they have 4 or 5 programs coming up once a month. They are at the Barrington Library, and just wanted to give them a plug for that. And now my screen is not advancing. Let's figure that out. There we go. Okay, so this morning I'm going to be talking about what plant is that, using apps to get answers. My name is Ellen Smatlak, and I've lived in Wauconda for 33 years. I feel incredibly fortunate to have grown up a walk away from the Brookfield Zoo, because it was those walks and animals that sparked my curiosity and lifelong love of nature. Over the years, more and more signs appeared around the zoo saying endangered species, and it made me sad to realize the impact humans had and continue to have on our natural habitats. So while I can't personally change the world, there are things I can do in my yard and community that will make a difference. And making a difference begins with knowledge. So this is why I am so excited about apps and having a library of resources in your pocket on your phone. I used to carry around a load of books. I don't need to do that anymore because of the apps that many of you mentioned. So this morning I'm going to be talking about a variety of apps, some thoughts on why to use them, a comparison of many of the ones you all talked about, give you an opportunity to do a little test yourself if you have your phone handy, and some tips for best results, some cautions about using the apps, and then a request for you to become a citizen scientist. In preparing for this presentation, I did a lot of research, so the apps I picked were some of the top vote getters, and you confirmed that. So let's take a look at why people might want to be using apps. And I came up with kind of this scale of reasons. So the first one could simply be curiosity. A lot of times I'm walking or hiking along and I see a plant that's odd, unusual, or it's something I've seen before and just don't remember. So quickly, what is that? Next step up, I might want to find out really what that plant is so I can learn and apply that information. Like I see something covered with butterflies and I go, wow, I want that in my yard. Or I see something pop up in my yard and go, good or bad? Do I tear it out? Leave it there? An app can help you make those decisions. And finally, at what I would call the highest level are scientific studies, where you use an app to document your observations, to collect and share data, and then other people can use that information to identify trends, and you yourself can become a citizen scientist. So here are the 6 apps that showed up repeatedly in all of my searches. And I'd like you to take a look at these and either in chat or those of you on video, if you raise your hand as I mention each one, show me which ones you use or use regularly. So how many for Seek? Google Lens? Leafsnap. Nobody mentioned that. PlantNet. I think we had Nancy.
I actually
Pat.
have Seek.
Great. Picture this. And iNaturalist.
Definitely.
All right. Some of these are way easier to use than others. And I think you'll find that if you practice and also look up tips online, YouTube or whatever, to find out how to use them with practice, they can become more natural. Here's a summary of my findings. So if you are not familiar with these, all of them are available on both Apple and Android phones. There's 2 that have paid subscriptions, although there's also a free version, but those are loaded with ads, and people tend to find that annoying.
Yes.
Some do plants only. Some do animals, insects, birds, other things. And ease of use, the 2 that take more effort, I think, have a better return on your investment for putting that effort in there. Sharing results is something you may want to look at, especially if you have children using the app or you yourself want to maintain some privacy, because Leafsnap, for instance, automatically sends your photos and your photo location to their database. And some people are uncomfortable with that. So if you have your phone handy and can focus it on the plant on the right-hand side, don't give it away if you know what this is, take a picture of it and then follow the instructions on the left-hand side of the screen. I'll give you just a minute to do that if you have a phone handy. Anybody have a question about getting that done?
What do you mean on the left-hand side of, sorry.
Are we supposed to do it on Google Lens?
Yes.
Oh, I have to download that.
Oh, okay, then do it. Do you use visual intelligence? You have an iPhone?
Yeah. Yes, I have an iPhone.
Okay, you can do that.
Oh, it's very similar to the iPhone identification with the eye.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
That's probably just a name for the eye.
Oh, okay. Google Lens. Google Lens.
Ellen, just taking a picture of it, the eye didn't pick it up, but Google Lens did.
Thank you. So this is the difference between iPhones and Google.
Right. The
so
Google picked it up.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't give a lot of information, though.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's a quick snap doesn't give you a lot of information. And that's the shortcoming of the one picture quickie apps.
I got the I guess visual intelligence, where I swipe up and it comes up old man's whiskers with an option to look it up. And then I got all kinds of information.
Okay. So the main thing is, how many of you came up with this? GM triflorum?
I got it.
Great.
I got it.
I did.
Yeah, mine did too.
And what's really important here, if you're not familiar with this concept, is checking for the botanical name, the two-word, often hard to pronounce name of the plant, because as you can see here, somebody said old man's whiskers and a variety of other things. If you were to go to a nursery or a plant sale and ask for lion's beard, they may have no idea what you're talking about. But if you go in with Geum triflorum, somebody there should know what that is and hand you the correct plant. So to talk a little bit about Google Lens, those of you with iPhones need to download this if you choose to have it. People who have Android phones, it's automatically on there as part of your platform. On the right side, I've got a picture from my phone of what it looked like when I took a picture of this plant. And not much information when you first get started. But the reason people like this is because it's quick. There's no registration required. You're not giving away any personal information. And its accuracy is good or bad, partly depending on the quality of the photograph you take and how common the plant is, because it's doing a search through artificial intelligence to find matches that other people and other websites have named. So the cool thing about Google Lens, though, is it identifies anything. I use it sometimes because I'm scrolling through my phone and I see a picture that I took on vacation of a building or a lighthouse, and I say to myself, where was that? Google Lens can tell you where that was and what it is. So it's really useful for a lot of reasons besides identifying plants, and maybe not the best choice for doing a solid plant ID.
Okay.
Several of you mentioned Seek. So here's a screen snap of what that looked like on my phone. It came up with the correct plant ID. You can choose to take a photo and save it to your phone or not. What I like about it as you scroll down is it offers lots of details about the plant. It gives you the option of sharing your precise information, your photos, your email address or not, so you can protect your privacy. And for kids or people who are into the fun factor, it gives you badges and challenges and skill levels if you choose to sign yourself up for that part of it. On the downside, people have said that it is less accurate, especially if you're trying to identify amphibians and snakes. It's got high-level guesses instead of genus species specific sometimes, and offline either doesn't work at all or is really quirky. Picture this. Several of you mentioned that. It takes IDs with a single photo. People have said it's got high accuracy at the species level. And if you buy, it does health assessments for garden plants, details even in the free version, and photo collection without cell service. So if you're walking around somewhere remote, you can still take pictures and save them with Picture This. If you use the free version, beware. There are lots of ads and they continue prompting you over and over to please upgrade to the paid version. And the paid version can be pricey for some people. I don't think anybody mentioned Leafsnap.
No.
There's another version called PlantSnap from the same people, but this one got high ratings for accuracy in identifying plants and mushrooms and insects. It also had some interesting information about pet toxicity. So if you have things popping up in your yard and you have a dog or cats or horses running around, you may want to take a look at this to see what it says about toxicity. It also gives you information about diagnosing plant diseases, and for people looking at houseplants or other common plants, it can give you plant care guides and prompt you about when you might want to water your plants, believe it or not. There are lots of ads and prompts to upgrade if you're using the free version. It can be quirky if you are doing photo captures with not good connectivity. And like many of the apps, if the lighting is poor, you're going to get less accurate results. I think Nancy was the only one who oh no, Pat was the one who mentioned PlantNet. And this one was new to me. So it was a little confusing from the start because it's one of the more complex apps to figure out all the questions they want you to answer before it even gives you an ID. But on the pro side, it gives you the ability to share your information with other users so you can become a citizen scientist. It is rated as being quite accurate for identifying trees and what they call wild plants. And by that, they mean things that are not cultivated, things that are not human created hybrids or whatever, but things that are out there in nature. Notice on my screen snap here that it wants you, before it makes an ID, to tell them what part of the plant you have. So I thought, okay, I have this picture of prairie smoke. I clicked flower, but really that is not the flower of prairie smoke. It's the seed head, but it still identified it as the right thing. So my bad, but it came up correct anyway. And the other nice thing about this is once you have these photographs stored in PlantNet and your results, it allows you to go back and add more photos to that finding so you can track over the seasons what the plant looks like, or maybe over the seasons or as the plant matures, it turns out to be a different plant than you initially thought when it was a little sprout coming out of the ground. Because it advertises itself as being good for wild plants, it is not so great for identifying cultivated plants or ornamentals.
Yep.
And it's got limited coverage or reduced accuracy where there are few users because it is a crowdsourced database. It's the people putting in the information and identifying it that build up the body of knowledge to give you in turn what the app and what the users think it is. And it will give you a variety of suggestions for each picture you take. On the right, you see part of a long list. But the cool thing here is if you look closely, it rates itself on how accurate it thinks it is for each of those IDs.
Yeah.
And the last one I'm going to talk about is iNaturalist. And of the 6 I'm covering, this is probably the most complex and difficult for new users to figure out. It is not a very friendly user interface, but I love it for other reasons and I use it a lot. And the number one reason is because, and I'll talk about my experience later, engaging as a citizen scientist and having my results used and viewed by other people and getting feedback from other people, because you can guess or suggest what you think your picture is, and then other people will come back with a variety of accreditations in their bios to give you better information. It also does a great job of identifying insects, which I love because you're out there looking at native plants. And lots of times there are native or not native insects out there too. And it has the ability for you to create personal or community project-wide projects and have people gather and add data to that location. And this would be great if you have a yard and you want to see over time what new native plants are coming in, what birds or insects are being attracted to your yard. And Citizens for Scientists Citizens for Conservation is doing the same thing, and that is using the preserves they have created to start gathering information to show people what a difference it makes when you restore native habitat and what pops up on its own from the seed banks and what is attracted because of the plants put there. The accuracy of it depends on the volunteer experts. It struggles when you are offline or have a weak signal. And there is not only a mobile version that you can run on your phone, but you can also use it on your computer. And the website actually, I think, has stronger, more up-to-date features. So you can take a look at it in both places. And if you have an iNaturalist account, you can view them in both places. You can take your pictures running around on the phone and then come back home and log in on your computer and see things there. So, going back to the comment about engaging as a citizen scientist, I got sold on iNaturalist 3 years ago when I was out hiking around in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I took a picture of this plant and I knew what it was, but I was very excited to see it because you don't see them very often. It's called ghost pipes.
Oh,
No chlorophyll. It's a tiny plant in the forest. I posted this, and a day later, I got an email through iNaturalist from a doctoral student at Purdue University who said, I am doing my thesis on thrips, and I'm wondering if you can go back to this plant and I will give you instructions to count thrips and tell me how many you found. Well, first of all, I had to tell her that I was traveling on the road and not able to get back to this plant. Thrips are tiny winged insects that hang out on ghost pipes amongst other plants and suck the nutrients out of the cells. But I just found it fascinating that here I am in Nova Scotia, and this woman in Indiana is looking at my pictures, and had I been able to help, I would have loved to contribute to her doctoral thesis on thrips on ghost pipes. So there you have it.
love that.
So, which app for what? What I tried to do after doing my research and trying out these 6 apps on my phone, I arbitrarily came up with these categories of how I thought they might fall out. At the curiosity level and good choices for children, Google Lens, Visual Intelligence, which is the native app you have on your iPhones, and Seek are all good choices because you do not have to reveal any personal data to get a quick ID. Going a step up from there, Picture This and Leafsnap are more accurate, typically. They provide you a better experience if you use their paid versions, and then you can store your photos and your findings on your phone. And the more difficult and higher level choices, iNaturalist and PlantNet, are great if you want to be part of a collaborative platform and use it for either your personal discovery or logging of what you see in a specific area or helping other people with their scientific analysis. Some tips for best results. With any of these, especially the more difficult one, I highly recommend going to YouTube and the Plant ID's own website and really learn how to use the app. The more you know about its features and the things you can do or have to do to get a good ID, the better your results are going to be. In taking pictures, try your best to isolate your subject so you don't have a lot of other confusing things around it. I've taken pictures where I was trying to ID a plant, and lo and behold, it was trying to ID an insect that at first I didn't even see on the plant. So zoom in, make sure you're in focus, Make sure the colors are as true to nature as you can get them. And then include any key features or things that really stand out about the plant itself. Anybody know what this plant is? White rattlesnake root in
Ooh.
Wisconsin. I had never seen one before. Cool plant.
Yeah.
Some more tips. Take images from various angles. Early on in my plant ID life, I was taking pictures like crazy of mushrooms because I think they are so cool and diverse. Mushrooms are not plants, they're fungi, a whole different family of organisms. But I was only taking pictures of the caps and the tops of them. And then I learned that in order to do a good ID, you have to take a picture from underneath of the gills. And so anybody into mushroom photography, a great way to do that, I learned from somebody who was out there when I was laying on the ground trying to take a picture, was to use the reverse image selfie view of your camera. And then you can lay it under the mushroom and take a picture of the gills without me doing contortions on the ground. If you can, identify your geographic location and the date. And obviously the reasons these are important is because it helps the app focus in on what plants are likely to occur where you are, the time of year. If you're showing something that's very immature and you're in the Midwest, springtime, it's good to know just kind of what stage the plant would be in for the place you are taking the photograph. And some of you early on mentioned how reliable is my result. Well, all of these are guesses. There's no 100% proof on any of these apps, and they all tell you that when you sign up or get started. But my suggestion would be, once you think you know what it is, if you really, really want to try and make sure that's it, copy down the name and go to some other resource online. And I would suggest using the botanical name to do a search and using authoritative sources such as websites from universities, botanic gardens, or your state's Department of Natural Resources, because those people are posting accurate data, oftentimes lots of great photos, and you can then cross-check with what your app found the thing to be, and then these authorities telling you yes or no by comparing their results to what you've got. Some cautions. First of all, apps and photos are storage hogs on your phone. So if you take lots and lots, you may start to get a message from your phone saying you need to add more memory or get rid of it. So think about that. Good IDs are a challenge or questionable when you are photographing an immature plant. They are also not so great when you are trying to identify grasses or sedges, or needless to say, herbaceous plants in the winter. If I go outside and try and take a picture of some of my winter plants, it could struggle with identifying even common things like various goldenrods, or a specific species or hybrid name, such as if you're looking at a rose and want to know exactly what that thing is. Look at the plant tag at the Botanic Garden instead. A few more cautions. Don't venture onto private property without permission. Dig up or damage plants. And please, please, please do not use the ID on a plant app to decide you are going to eat a mushroom. The last part of my presentation is going to be talking to the audience at the library specifically about a project that Citizens for Conservation began last year. And I don't have the slides for that because I'm waiting for some details from those Citizens for Conservation people, but they have set up a project in iNaturalist, and they want people to go out to their preserves take pictures, ID the plants and insects so that they can build up this body of knowledge to track, measure, and prove to people what a difference their restoration efforts are making. So I will have more information on that when it's available. And that's it. Questions and comments, please.
Ellen, just with you had Leafsnap. I don't know, when I first started trying to identify things, I used PlantSnap,
Okay.
and I found that they only allowed you for free to do, like, I think it was 1 or 2 identifications a week, or maybe it stopped me after 10 identifications, and then it became very expensive. So this was a long time ago. I don't know what it's like now, but that was my experience with it.
And you were using PlantSnap?
PlantSnap.
Okay.
I think
Thank
it was
you.
one of the first things that came out.
I had seen some information about Leafsnap also that was only allowing 30 free IDs. But when I went back to look, I could not find that. That does not mean that that information is not hidden away someplace deeper than I dug. But thank you for that, Marilyn, because that is worth giving people a warning that it may be free or look like it's free, and then you really get into it and suddenly it would be very expensive to continue. Thanks.
Like I said, this was a long time ago. I don't know if they've changed, but I thought it was worth mentioning. And also, picture this as $30 for a year. So it really isn't very expensive. Just if you want to add the price of it.
I did have the price on one of the first slides, and
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I must have missed it.
when I said expensive, I just thought, well, okay, if you have 5 kids and they have 5 separate phones, then it starts to add up. But
Yes.
I did have the price on one of the first slides. I think it was the other one that has a price on it that can get very pricey fast. So thank you. Anybody else have some comments, thoughts, experiences with their apps that they could share?
Well, just so that, Ellen, it was very nicely put together. Nice job.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, also, this is Nancy. Seek is created by iNaturalist. So they created it to make it simpler for people just out and about that weren't into the citizen scientists. But it's also, you can, when you use Seek, sometimes you use Seek because it's quick, but you can also save your Seek IDs into your iNaturalist account. So they're connected.
I don't know if this is still true, but early on, when one of the things about Seek was, if you have children, you can that are like on a out somewhere, you can, as a parent, lock their location so that nobody can find your child. Nasty people. And so the parental control on it was something that was involved in it. And I thought that was very interesting. It's easy. Find it easier to use than iNaturalist because you got to wait. It takes longer to rev up. But I get from iNaturalist, I will get emails weekly, and it'll tell me who identified my plant, agreed with me or not on some things. So sometimes you don't get that for a long time when somebody finally picks up on that item and starts searching for it. So that's an interesting point, because you found it with iNaturalist, somebody picked up on it right away doing a graduate program. I think that that's the purpose of it, is to make that available to people. And also people like Heather Holmes, who is the bee guru. She is actually one of the people that'll go on and identify bees too. And you could get her as an approval or a change. So it's really nice.
Thanks, Pat.
Mhm.
Gloria?
So I usually use Seek, and it's not always 100% accurate. Not that it's the fault of the app. It might be my photograph. But sometimes if they give me an ID, I'll go online and then I'll put the Latin name into Google and bring up photos of that plant to compare. But I did want to make so I have to admit, when you said Google Lens, I thought, well, I'll just download that. And I thought I could do that quickly while you were speaking. And like, no, I have an iPhone and it's not in the App Store on an iPhone. So I looked it up and it says to get Google Lens on your iPhone, download the Google app or Google Chrome from the App Store, which I actually have. Open either app, tap the lens camera next to the search bar. Oh, grant the camera permission and then point your camera or select a photo to search visually. So, a note about Google Lens on the iPhone.
Okay, several extra steps to get to what is embedded right in an Android.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I have Google Lens on my iPhone. I don't remember ever downloading it. It is a white square with a rainbow colored G in it. And I tap it open and it goes right to what I need.
Jeez.
Also on the iPhone, I think you might have said this, Ellen, when you pull up a picture of a plant and it tells the name sometimes, you can also, in the bottom menu, across the bottom, there's an eye. And if you press on that eye, it comes up with information on the plant. And sometimes it'll give you the information even to multiple species. So maybe you have to choose between them. It depends probably on how many are local there, in their area, for your latitude and longitude area or habitat. But that's always quite nice.
Thanks, Pat. That brings up a good point. I'm hoping a couple of weeks ago, had Marilyn just trying out an ID on the picture of the prairie smoke I brought with me on a walk to see how she did it with her iPhone. Now that I'm hearing your experiences, I'm going to go back and see if I can find a neighbor who has an iPhone and do a little side-by-side practice with them to see some of these other nuances you are talking about. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Ellen,
I
are you
thought
going to? Oh, I'm
I thought
sorry.
it was a really nice presentation. I know you asked for feedback and I thought it was really thorough. I liked the compare and contrast. I liked your slides. I thought your pace was really good and it was really informative. So thank you.
Thanks, Marnie.
Ellen, are you going to be on the hike on Sunday?
This Sunday, I am.
So we could do whatever comparisons you want.
Okay, good. I'll bring my pictures.
Ellen, I agree with what Marty said. This was very, very good. And the research and knowing what the different ones does is excellent.
Thank
It
you.
takes a while to learn how to do it, and to try to do it online is not good for everybody because it's very individual what you want to know. And I thought this really made it clear. Excellent, excellent research
Thank you.
Very good.
and presentation and photos and everything.
I'll third that. That the slides are so well organized that I really understood what was going on and the compare and the contrast and uh, very nicely done. You have a very organized mind and it comes out in your slides.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Ellen, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, UL.
Ooh.
To do the presentation for them?
Yeah.
Well, that was my thought because they
Yeah.
need to turn their campus
Mhm.
into an iNaturalist project because
Yes.
they're early on in their planting. As they add plants and those mature over time, what an opportunity for them to prove the difference they are making.
Yeah, to document it.
Mhm.
Exactly, Nancy.
And I'll also say too, if you visit like national parks, and I know the provincial provinces, I've talked to the biologists there, and they say they use this to help understand what plants are in the park because they don't always get out and about as much as the public does. So the more input they get for their parks, which is why location is always an important. Location is also very important in coming up with a good ID as well.
Right. And if you look at the iNaturalist site, the stories they tell about users and how their data is being used is truly phenomenal. They are
Mhm.
tracking trends to show the impact of climate change, not only in national parks, but in other places. The invasion of species, like I used to think that kudzu was only in the southeast. Well, now it's in Indiana and moving into Illinois, and it's people on iNaturalist who are showing this, and people are horrified. So the number of people out there collecting this data, it really, really is being used. And of course, not all of the data in iNaturalist or PlantNet is 100% validated. So the scientists using the information go back themselves to look carefully at your photographs to make sure your ID or the ID that came up is really the true one before they use it as scientific data. But the ways this information can be used is so valuable in our world today. You just really want to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And there other people on our naturalists are actually have some certification or something. So when you get like a verification that you got the right plant or something like that, another one will come along and do the same thing. And the more like verifications you have, the people using it can go right to it. I mean, they don't have to worry about rechecking it themselves because certified viewers have done that for them. And anybody can be a certified viewer. You just have to get the qualifications through the iNaturalist.
Good point.
So it's not just anybody verifying your photos, your IDs.
Anybody else have comments, input, suggestions, questions?
Oh,
That prairie smoke photo that you have is just stunning. I would frame that and hang it up.
That one I actually bought at Bog. They had a photography sale one day when I was over there, and I like it too.
Oh, okay.
Okay, folks. Anybody else want to say anything about Monarchs, Milkweed, and more? What's coming up? Marilyn, we've got a few more people online who are not on at the start. If you want to ask for volunteers for seed packing.
I absolutely was going to do that. Thank you, Ellen. There's a few people that joined us after I said something at the very beginning. Next Monday, Martin Luther King Day, so probably nobody is working and children are off of school. We will be packing seeds at the Northbrook Library in order to hand them out later in the year. We desperately need hands to help pack seeds. So if any of you here can help from 10 to 12 next Monday, please let me know. We really need some extra hands.
Anybody else?
I just have one thing about websites to use to read more about plants. It's Illinois Wildflower. Has anybody gone on that? It's very old. It started a long time ago, but it gives you more information that you can possibly use about the plants that are in it. It doesn't have every single plant, but it does. And if you're deciding on which Joe Pye weed that is, there down in the comments, there's usually, because what you do is you go on the site and you can scroll through all their stuff, or you can just type in the Google browser, Joe Pye weed, let's see, wet red stem, Illinois, and you'll go right to that. So if you do that, go through Leafsnap aspera, Illinois in your browser, it'll take you right to it. But with Joe Pye weed, identifying which one it is sometimes, or some other plants when there's multiples, it's really good, and you can kind of get the shortened version in the comments usually. But yeah, it's very thorough on how to identify, from, the stamen, whatever about the plant, the stem, the stamen, pistils, whatever. It goes into very great detail. So it's just a
Thanks,
nice.
Pat.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with that one, so I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it
And we had somebody join us right near the very end. Welcome, Beth. I'm sorry you missed us. We started at 9 o'clock. But hopefully you can join us for the next Monarchs, Milkweed, and More breakfast conversation presentation.
And
Well,
I'll post this so everybody can see the video.
Okay, great.
Very good.
Oak.